catch it, is about a sheriff and his friend Roger Hilligus, Roger Hilligus was appointed by his mother, Mrs. Hilligus, to take care of her affairs as she got old and disabled. He had her happy in California. Then his little sister, who doesn't want to talk to me, doesn't answer the phone, doesn't want to make a reply. His little sister, Roger's little sister, got an attorney, went to court, had herself imposed as the caretaker person in charge of Mrs. Hilligus. She quickly moved her to a rest home from her comfortable place in California to a not so comfortable place in Nevada, in a county where she had no friends. It was far from her son, far from her brother, and she was suffering. She didn't like. So Roger comes in, talks to an ex-sheriff who spent 30 years in law enforcement in the state of Nevada, named Stuart Handty. Stuart, or Stu as most of us call him, Sheriff Stu, I call him. All he did to get himself in trouble is to walk with Roger, just simply walking in, didn't touch Mrs. Hilligus, didn't force her into a car, just walk with him. He walks in, she walks out on her own power, gets in the car with Roger, and drives back to California to live with her brother where she wanted to be, or Roger himself, or maybe even her own original home. All this upsets the judges in Nevada who have, it turns out, some kind of hidden interest in the rest home. Not just one, but several rest homes. They call it kidnapping because his little sister put her out there. But had the whole truth come into the court, had the whole truth been seen by we the people, I think we'd have put the judge in jail. That's just my opinion, for what little it's worth. So here's the story, and I hope you caught it.
You want to ask questions, or you want me to say once upon a time?
Well, it's been many, many months since we talked.
Yes,
Sheriff.
it has. So,
tell me who's with you,
what,
your name, who's with you, and what has happened in the last 6 months. Can you do that?
okay, so Stuart Handty, a victim of a corrupt legal system here in Washoe County, Reno, Nevada. Nobody is with me right now because some things have transpired, and I believe I'm being surveilled and monitored again. I always have been and always will be until I get out of the state in fear of my life. I've been followed again. I've been surveilled by people in plain clothes. I've been surveilled by people in uniforms within the last 6 months. Both myself and my co-defendant, Roger Hilligus, were forced under duress into a no-low contendory plea agreement to plead to the singular felony charge of burglary, pled down from all the other charges. Now, William, as being a retired law enforcement officer for 30 years, these guys conservatively have spent $15 to $20 million to try and throw Roger and I into prison. And we had to bow down to a no-low contendory plea agreement because the judge in this case, Barry Lewis Breslow, Department 8, 2nd Judicial District Court of Nevada, impaneled
So they're using a stinger against you and cutting off our phone call. Is that what you think?
I think that they don't want the truth to come out, and they're doing whatever they can to shut me up, and I'm not going to shut up.
Well,
okay?
Give me the truth now, Sheriff Stewart.
I'm not afraid of these people, William. I've never been afraid of these people because they are cowards. They are corrupt cowards. They are reprehensible excuses of the legal system, which, as far as I'm concerned, should be dismantled and restructured with people that don't have bar certificates, that aren't judges, that aren't involved in it. It's a skull and crossbones society, and they all gather together and yuck it up and laugh it up, and they steal people's money, and they take their estate, and they do lots of bad stuff. So I don't know where we lost on the previous telephone conversation, but
Well, I was saying before they cut you off with a stinger, I didn't know law enforcement had a tool like that that could interfere with phone calls from 500 feet away.
It's 500, no, not 500 feet, 500 yards.
Oh, 500 yards.
Yeah, they can use it up to 500 yards away.
Trump was just in Nevada, wasn't he? Did you try to reach him?
No, I did not try to reach him. It was actually J.D. Vance was in Nevada.
I'm sorry about that. It's really hard to get a hold of Trump right now. But I think you're going to need somebody on a federal level to step in for you guys, because it's pretty...
And if, if they take me out, William, like I told you before when we were down in California, if they take me out, well, they've got, number one, I've lived a good life. I'm not afraid of them. I've never been afraid to die. And the people that put on the law enforcement uniform should understand that you're not guaranteed to come home every day. You put that uniform on and the bulletproof vest and the gun and all that stuff. You're not guaranteed to come home every day. So, the people in this world should understand that the good cops that are not much around anymore are susceptible to being, taken out by the bad cops. And there's so many bad cops anymore, William, it's hard to tell the good ones from the bad ones. So I would just tell all you and all your listeners and everybody that you make contact with, if you feel that you're being threatened through abuse of authority, then you need to call up people. You need to record it, either audio record it or video and audio record it. Request other officers to respond to, I don't know, if you get pulled over in a traffic stop, if you witness a crime. There was an academy instructor in my Highway Patrol Academy back in 1984, and the words of wisdom still ring true to this day. If it doesn't look right and it doesn't sound right, it's not right. However, if it looks right but doesn't sound right, or sounds right but doesn't look right, it's up to you through your investigation to determine whether it's right or whether it's wrong. How simplistic could that be? And so I tell people these days, I go, look, if you feel you're being harassed by law enforcement, if you feel you're getting the short end of the stick by the attorneys, if you feel you're being retaliated, retributed by a district attorney or a city attorney, demand a criminal investigation, demand accountability, call people above them. City attorneys answer to city councils. District attorneys answer to county board of commissioners. That's pretty much the status quo across this country. State organizations answer to federal. Are you going to get anywhere with them? Probably not.
No.
But it's a paper trail, and that's what you need to do, is establish a paper trail.
Sheriff Stewart, let me roll back a minute, because Roger Hilgers is not here with you. He's not here with me.
No, I'm not allowed to have any contact with Mr. Hilgers at all, period.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But originally, it was his mother that was trying to escape from a so-called rest home in Nevada.
Correct. Well, she wasn't trying to escape. Roger had evidence, which I viewed, which he showed to the Reno Police Department, of evidence of abuse and neglect. And now, what loving son or daughter would not take their mother out of a situation where she's being abused and neglected?
So
the real criminal in this case is Roger's sister, Robin Renwick, who basically told Roger, listen, mom and dad are going downhill. Let's sell everything off, split the profits, you go your way and I go mine. Roger goes, no, I'm power of attorney, I'm the trustee, I'm the guardian, no. And she was able to get the attorney, Steve Moss, to unwind the entire estate, the Hilgers family trust of the state, and that's when Roger started his fight against his sister, against corrupt judges, against corrupt attorneys. Todd Torvinen is a goon himself. He called me a goon. Well, goon's on you, dude. David Spitzer is a goon. Brian Earl's a goon. Egan Walker is a corrupt judge. Barry Breslo's a corrupt. Wait till I tell you what I found out about the judges in the Second Judicial District Court of Nevada. Every single one of them, William,
every single one of them, there's 16 of them, do not have a bond as required by law, and do not have a valid recorded oath of commission as required by law. And that is under Nevada Revised Statute 282010. Once again, NRS, Nevada Revised Statute 282010. Now, under Nevada Revised Statute 283040, NRS 283040, their departments are to be vacated because they're not in a valid capacity. Now, I'm not good at math, sir, but I guarantee you one thing. If every person in this county or state has, or even some of those that are out of state, has had an adverse ruling in any one of the 16 departments within the 2nd Judicial District Court of Nevada, from the time that judge was appointed in their current capacity, I would say the civil actions could run into the hundreds of millions, if not approaching $1 billion, if everybody got together and went after these judges for any adverse ruling. That's how insane these people are. They are drunk with power, sir. The cops are drunk with power. The district attorney's drunk with power. And to add the top rung on the ladder, Mr. Wagener, we have evidence to show that Susan Hilligus was murdered. She was murdered, and they've covered it up.
Well, that's why they're going after you and Roger, is to make sure you never get a chance to present that evidence that Mrs. Hilligus, Roger's mother, came to an untimely death after they recaptured her and dragged her back and put Roger under arrest. And if I remember, all you didn't even touch her. All you did is walk out of the rest home with Roger and his mother because she wanted to leave and go back to California. Is that basically the initial incident?
She wanted to be with her son because she loved her son. Because any mother, there's always a strong bond between a mother and son, father and a daughter. We all know that. History has shown that. That's pretty much the prevailing theme. However, she had a brother in Southern California that was going to take her in, but she still wanted to be with her son. Her son wanted to take care of her in her own home. The day after Mrs. Hilligus was rescued, and I mean rescued, from the D-rated facility called Stone Valley. By the way, the civil lawsuit against Roger, myself, and Tracy Griffith was dropped because they had no case. Okay? They tried to sue Roger Hilligus, myself, and Tracy Griffith for causing the death of Susan Hilligus. How absurd is that?
Pretty absurd. I mean, it's pretty absurd. All they had to do is just leave her alone. She got back to California. She was with her son, Roger. All they had to do is leave her alone.
They didn't want to because they didn't want her to sell. Why? How can you have a kidnapping trial or charges with no victim? She died 2 months after she was rescued. October 16th.
Yeah, after what they called a rescue by taking her back to Nevada. I would think, anybody who has a parent who wants to put them in a rest home, Nevada would be the absolute last place you would want to take them.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
I agree with that 100%. In fact, I would agree with it to any assisted care facility in this country. Do your homework and you understand. I mean, my mother was in one for a brief time before she passed. And they were trying to keep her in there. Why? Well, I'm going to answer that question for you, sir. It's all about the money. $10,000 a month out of Susan Hilligus' fund was being given to Stone Valley. So, of course, they didn't want her to leave. Of course, they didn't want her to leave. But there was no legal framework that prevented Roger from taking her out of there. Despite what the cops said, they're liars. Despite what the district attorney said, he's a liar. Despite what the judges said, they're corrupt, invalid. There was nothing legally there that could stop him. The guardian could say, well, he doesn't have permission to take her, but there was nothing on there. They ran and got a TPO, temporary protection order, against Roger on August 9th, the day after Susan was rescued, to try and show, well, listen, Roger can't have her. But the TPO was even dissolved. All it was a flailing attempt. It's like shutting the barn door after the horse gets out. It was so ludicrous, but yet the judges approved it. Why? Because they're covering their ass. Because they're corrupt.
So, how many days have you spent locked up in a jail cell, and you're an ex-sheriff, because of this incident?
I spent, well, first of all, the judge ruled on an order by Amos, component of this. He's the deputy district attorney that was prosecuting the case. He wanted me, because I kept speaking out to the media, including your story on your channel. They brought that up in court, and I said, I got First Amendment rights. You can go to hell. And so they submitted an order to remand me back into custody in a no bail hold, or in the absence of that, put me back into custody in a high bail hold, or in absence of that, put me on the GPS tracking monitor. Well, the judge basically said the GPS tracking monitor and the tracking of said monitor was not going to apply. And then less than 24 hours later, he overturned his own ruling and said, no, it applies. You're going to wear it and you're going to pay for it. I said, when pigs fly. And so I refused to go have it on. And then he put forth a $100,000 cash bail only warrant for me, which is insane beyond belief. This is the same judge, Barry Breslow, that was appointed to the bench by former Governor Brian Sandoval, who in turn, he bought Brian Sandoval's house. I believe that's called quid pro quo, or at least conflict of interest. That's documented. That's documented. So I said no. And then I found out I had a warrant for my arrest. I go, these guys are going to come for me, and they're going to try and kill me. So I got a hold of Roger at that point in time. We were able still to communicate. I said, Roger, what do you know about these GPS tracking systems? I got a buddy of mine in Elko who used to work for Microsoft. Let's call him. Well, I went to Roger's house because I was afraid to go home. They came to my work.
This story should be on Fox National Channel.
Yeah, so
And last time you knew, how much time has Roger spent in jail for trying to do what his mother wanted?
Well, let's give you the time frame, sir. I spent over 4 months in jail on an illegal order because guess what? GPS tracking devices are unconstitutional under a United District Court, Tory Grady versus North Carolina. They are illegal. Roger, on the other hand, because he didn't submit to a mental health evaluation, the judge who should have one himself, spent 18 months in jail. It's a mental health evaluation. This is the insanity that's taking place in our courts across the country. These people with black robes, William, are out of their minds. The cops acted collusion and conspiratorial efforts with the district attorneys, city attorneys, lawyers, liars. Please, if you have to hire an attorney, and I'm telling you don't, but yet, make sure you do your homework on these attorneys because they're scum.
I think most people agree. Most attorneys are scum, Stuart. Going back to when you'd only been on the Nevada policeman for 10 years, when you'd only been there, could you have ever imagined anything so corrupt could happen to you? Stuart?
Let me get to a better place in town, William. And let me get to a better place in town. Let me call you back. They may be tracking me right now, so I'm going to play a little game. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll call you back.
Okay, 5 minutes. Call him back.
5 minutes.
Well, that's former Sheriff Stuart in Reno, Nevada area. He said you didn't hit it because we cut it out. He believes the corrupt officials, police officials, are using a device called a stinger, which interferes with his phone communication from 500 yards away. So he's going to change his location and call us back. Hang on.
Now, when I talked with William, he said that he wasn't going to be able to get on.
Okay.
But we can still, you can't do the same thing. You can't call him at the same time that you're talking to me on this problem.
No, I'm not going to call him. You do what you need to do, bud. If you want to do the interview, if you want me to tell us, I mean, it's up to you. We can pick up from when William last interviewed me, and go from there. I'll let you call the ball, bud.
Well, then go ahead with that. Go ahead and start from where William had talked with you, what you were talking about with William.
Okay, so my name's Stuart Handty. I'm a retired 30-year law enforcement officer of the state of Nevada. I am a former federal and state whistleblower against my own department, being the Department of Public Safety, Nevada Department of Public Safety, as I was a state trooper and senior state trooper of the Nevada Highway Patrol. I blew the whistle on a very powerful individual by the name of Richard Kirkland, who was very well connected, and I believe is still connected to my ongoing nightmare, illegal nightmare to this day. When we last left off with Mr. Wagener, I was down in his hometown in California, and I was going on record that I was in fear of my life. I am still in fear of my life to this day. Since then, I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I have reoccurring nightmares of being chased by people with guns. Some have faces, some do not. In the process, I believe I attributed to Mr. Wagener that I've lost everything that mattered to me. My marriage, my house, personal property, which most importantly, I lost my animals, which were like my kids to me. I've lost friendships that I've had for 25, 30, 35, 40 years. I no longer have a relationship with my daughter. The atrocities that have been committed by the corrupt cops of the Reno Police Department, Washington County Sheriff's Office, and other federal agencies that have yet to be named, and also the atrocities, criminal acts of atrocities committed by the Washington County District Attorney's Office, and then double down and rubber stamp by a Reno Justice of the Peace, Ryan Sullivan, and our assigned District Court Judge Barry Lewis Breslow, have all destroyed my life and also Roger Hilligus' life. I have been ordered to come to Reno after Mr. Wagner's interview to be affixed with the GPS tracking device, which under United States Supreme Court ruling in 2015, Tory Grady versus North Carolina, they're unlawful search and seizure of one's body. Less than 24 hours before that ruling by Judge Breslow, I was told that the GPS tracking device was not going to be applied and that was not going to be monitored. And Stephen, the reason why they wanted to do this to me, they actually wanted me back in jail. And I had been in jail prior to, and because they want to shut me up. They want to shut me up because I know where the dead bodies are buried. Who buried them? I know the corruption in this city, county, and state. It's unbelievable. It's, like I said, a former state and federal whistleblower, so I do bring a little foundational argument to this. I refuse to have the device affixed to me. By the way, I was going to have to pay for it too. And the judge basically, without giving me the opportunity to have him explain why he changed his mind, which he's supposed to do, just basically turned around and said, "Nope, King's X, you're going to wear the device." I said, "No, I'm not." And so subsequent, he issued a $100,000 cash-only warrant for my arrest, which under Nevada law, I'm supposed to be brought into court and given the opportunity to argue my point, which I was never given. The violation, Stephen, of federal rights under United States Constitution, state rights under state constitution, state of Nevada, rules of the court governed by the Nevada Supreme Court, ethics are astronomical by this judge. Add in my civil rights being violated as well. It's a RICO violation with everybody involved in this. And we were talking 3 states involved in this absolute illegal nightmare. 3 states, California, Nevada, and Missouri, were involved in Roger Hilligus' apprehension because he failed to adhere to Judge Breslow's having him take a mental health evaluation. The only person who needs to take a mental health evaluation is Judge Breslow. And you could go back and watch on October 28th of 2021, where he got so pissed off the week before Roger Hilligus, because Roger Hilligus was representing himself. He stormed off the bench and left everybody in the Zoom court hearing hanging as a temper tantrum. Following week on October 28th, because let's get something straight here. This is on YouTube, by the way. I run the show here, not you. That goes for today and forever. Now, Stephen, I'm 64 years old, but I've never heard of a person that lives forever, let alone has a job forever. And that is the mental state of Judge Barry Lewis Breslow, who overrode our court case. So to back up, when the warrant was issued for my arrest, they came to my work looking for me. I'd already got a hold of Roger. I go, "Roger, they're coming for me. I don't know where they're at. I need to come have a safe place. I need to figure out what the heck's going to happen." Because a news reporter from KOLO Channel 8 in Reno, Nevada, by the name of Ed Pierce, who is I've seen him intoxicated more times than I've seen him sober at a local hangout called Brick's Tavern in Reno. Basically called and told me, hey, I heard you got a warrant out for your arrest. Here's $100,000. I go, what are you talking about, Ed? He goes, well, I'm here. And I go, who told you that? He goes, I'm not at liberty to say. I go, so you're calling me up basically to intimidate me? He goes, no, I'm just giving you information. But you're not telling me who gave it to you. No, which is illegal, by the way. That's illegal. That's a civil rights lawsuit in and of itself. So I went to Roger's house. He called a buddy of his who used to work at Microsoft, who lived in Elko. And I tried to get questions to answers about these GPS tracking devices, Stephen. And he refused to talk to me because your phone's being monitored, dude. I'm not talking to you. If you want to talk to me about these devices, you need to come to Elko. So the following day, we made a decision to drive to Elko, Nevada. We never made it. We got pulled over by 15 cop cars outside of Elko. They took me into custody. They put me on a floor in Elko County Jail. My back locked up when they told me to get up. I fell, injured my back. They never gave me proper medical treatment. I was in a wheelchair the entire time I was in Elko County Jail. I was transferred to Reno to the Washington County Detention Facility, whereas as of Sunday, this last Sunday, Stephen, over 54 inmates have died while in custody since 2017. That is insane. That is truly insane. And nobody's looking into it. Why? Because nobody wants to poke the bear. Well, I'll tell you what. After losing everything in my life that mattered to me, I don't care about poking the bear. I don't care about slapping the bear upside the head with a 2x4. I don't care about knocking the bear down the side of the mountain. Because what are they going to do to me now? Kill me? Put me back in jail? That's up there. Let them try. You know, I have enough people on my team right now that if something unfortunate happens to me, all holy hell will break loose. They had their chance to kill me. They didn't use it, and that's on them. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I spent the next 4 months in Washington County Detention Facility in the infirmary, locked down at 23 out of 24 hours. I was not given any medical attention. I was not allowed to see anybody. They restricted everything they could restrict. Apparently, after about 3 to 4 weeks, I was able to start connecting to people outside of the jail. But up until that time, I was losing my mind. And one day I just said, I'm not getting out of this. This judge is on the warpath to destroy my life. And I'm just going to stop eating and drinking. That turned into a 6-man goon squad coming into my cell about an hour after that phone call and basically threatening to rip me out of my clothes, my inmate clothes, because they're putting me on suicide watch. I never threatened to kill myself. I never threatened to kill anybody. I'm not a man of violence. I'm a man of peace. But I'm telling you, I'm also a man of justice. And justice deserves to be warranted in this situation. So the long and short of it, I was taken off suicide watch the next day by the psychiatrist in that jail. But I was harassed, intimidated, messed with every single day I was in a detention facility. There were some really good deputies that looked out for me. Don't get me wrong. But the bottom line is that sheriff, Darren Balaam, who failed the FTO program when he was a deputy, not through one FTO, but 5, had it out for me because he was connected to Richard Kirkland, whose father was connected to Richard Kirkland. Dennis Balaam, who was the former sheriff and undersheriff under Richard Kirkland when Richard Kirkland was the sheriff of Washoe County. It's to connect the dots, bud. That's all.
So it's all one department, all one office?
No. I blew the whistle on my own agency, Nevada Highway Patrol, through DPS, Department of Public Safety, when Richard Kirkland was the director, who, by the way, he didn't retire from state service. He was forced to resign or be terminated because the U.S. Department of Defense Inspector General's office, upon our complaint to them, sent an inspector out and found unbelievable crimes that you and I would be been arrested for and indicted. But Dwayne Bradley, the Inspector General investigator who came to the state of Nevada, found all these.
We're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
I can still hear you. The picture froze for a second, so we've got to be careful where we're going with that.
Yeah, I'm heading out of Carson. I should have you all the way into Reno, but then again, these people are surveilling me, so I don't put it past them to try and interrupt our signal. But Governor Kenny Gwynn and then Attorney General Brian Sandoval forced Director Kirkland to retire. Quotation marks around retire. He was either told you resign or be fired. So again, Brian Sandoval then became the governor. And of course, Barry Louis Breslow was appointed to the bench by Brian Sandoval. And Barry Louis Breslow bought Brian Sandoval's house. I believe that's called quid pro quo. So this is how corrupt the state is. It's unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. The corruption, everybody goes, oh, Vegas. Oh, Vegas. Reno's got Vegas hands down deep in the corruption category. I had 4 attorneys, one of which my former boss paid $75,000 to, which he didn't do a damn thing. The first attorney was Joey Gilbert. He's worthless. The second attorney was Tom Pitaro, another worthless attorney. Third one was Chuck Kozak, a third worthless attorney. And the fourth one was court appointed by Judge Breslow. His name was public pretender or defender. I'm sorry, pretender, defender, doesn't matter. Ian Silverberg. And the reason, Stephen, that Ian Silverberg was appointed by Breslow to represent me was because he and I had previous history when he represented a former female trooper with the highway patrol who was being harassed and intimidated by Director Kirkland. It's insane. So this attorney, the fourth one, did not represent me. In fact, I just filed a motion to have him dismissed as my legal counsel of record with the Nevada Supreme Court less than 30 minutes ago. Why? Because he's not doing his job. I told him to appeal my judgment of conviction by this judge, who's invalid in his own right. And I'll explain that in a second. And he refused to do it. He goes, well, you can't, there's nothing to appeal. I go, Ian, well, I'm not going to appeal that. I go, that's fine. I'll take care of it.
Oh, hold on a
Goes,
second.
No,
We're breaking up a little bit here. Let's slow down for a second. Okay, so you just came out from filing the papers, you said?
Yeah, I just filed a motion to dismiss my legal counsel of record. I hope the judges of the Nevada Supreme Court granted, and then I will do oral arguments in front of the Nevada Supreme Court. I'm not afraid to argue. Again, I've been on the witness stand as a law enforcement officer in the state of Nevada thousands of times, in federal court, in district court, in state court, in muni court, and in justice court. So I know how to testify, and I think I can present my case very, very well.
Okay.
To have my case overturned, my judgment of conviction vacated, and my record expunged so I can get my life back. Because right now I'm a convicted felon for a singular charge of, are you ready for this? Burglary. Now, initially I was charged with kidnapping, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, both of a protected person, elderly. Burglary.
How does it advance from well, okay, you say kidnapping when you were, what Wagener told me is that you had been walking with somebody removing a mother from a rest home? Is that where it was?
His mother was being abused and neglected. I saw photos of her in disheveled clothing and sporting a black eye. I'm sure she didn't punch herself. So she was being abused and neglected in Stone Valley Assisted Care Center, which has been consistently rated by the state health department as a D, as a bad grade, D, A through F, D rated. And she wanted to be out of there and be with her son. And he was taking care of her in her own home until his sister decided, that's not going to happen. I want the money. You're not going to get it. And the Hilligas Family Estate Trust, which had been already put forth through an attorney here in Reno, was unwound by the same attorney and others. And Roger had to fight to get his mother to care for his mother in her own home. And they got him removed from the house, and she was by herself. Then they placed her in assisted care facility. Her husband subsequently passed away. He was suffering from dementia, Gene Hilligas. And Susan had some dementia, but not enough to cause her to be incoherent or non-communicative. I talked to her the day we rescued her. She talked to me freely. Okay? Everything that the police department, Reno Police Department, Washington County Sheriff's Office, and other law enforcement agencies have put in official police reports are blatant lies. It's corruption. They wanted to get, and I'm going after them, but I am not going to let this go. They actually fill out my cell phone, which they say they don't have. So tomorrow, I'm going to file an internal affairs complaint with the Reno Police Department and accuse police officers the ones that lied to police reports, of stealing my cell phone. Now, the cell phone doesn't mean much to me in materialistic value in terms of the actual cost of the phone, but in that phone are very valuable pictures of my dogs, my cats, and people that are no longer alive on this earth in that phone. And why would they keep that phone, Stephen? I'm going to tell you why. Because they have access to the iCloud. And everything that comes from my phone now, guess what? Goes into the iCloud. They can follow me, they can track me, they can do. And everybody should understand that if you have a cloud, somebody has access to that cloud, and say you get rid of one phone and have another, you still have that cloud, they have access to it, they could do anything they want and follow you, look at your text messages, look at your emails, look at your pictures. Yeah, it's scary. It's very, very scary.
Okay.
So, as of current date, I am a convicted felon for a singular charge of burglary. Now, people say, well, Stuart, who you burglarized? I didn't burglarize anybody. Well, how did he charge you with burglary? Well, under Nevada law, if you enter a dwelling with the intent to commit a crime, you can be charged with burglary, which is a felony. That's how stupid it is. So if I went into a store to steal a pencil, I could be charged with burglary. If I went into a store and spitting in public was illegal by public store, that's how ludicrous Nevada law is when it comes to that statute.
All right.
Now,
We're breaking up a little bit there, but you got the point across that you were being convicted of burglary because of, I guess, accompanying when you were picking up the woman from the house.
Well, no, they charged burglary because they didn't have a case, and that's the only case. I mean, think about this: if you've been looking for someone for a long time, which my enemies have, and you had them, why would you drop any of the charges? I wouldn't. I'd say, no, dude, you're going down for all 3 counts. You're going down for these counts. But they didn't have a victim because Susan Hilligus was murdered, saying this distinctly, murdered less than 2 months after she was rescued. They got her on a whole bunch of drugs, drugged her up, made her incoherent, made her incapacitated. Then they got her on hospice. And since I watched my mother on hospice before she passed away in front of my eyes, they more than likely gave her a double shot of morphine, and that was it. Now, the scary thing is, my daughter was involved in this, as was the assisted care facility. She went to a second one when she came back from Southern California after basically her doctor went and got her to walk her to her death sentence. So the second assisted care facility, called Artesian Gardens, is owned by a friend of mine I've known since high school. I'm not going to say his name because we may need him down the road. And I was supposed to go to lunch with him the week I got arrested. And after I got out of jail, your name all over this man, get it. I said, Dave, I said, Dave, it's not what you think it is. You know what's really freaky? I go, what's that? He was that lady, Susan Hilligus. I go, what about her? She was at my facility. I go, what facility? He goes, I own Artesian Gardens. I go, I didn't know you owned a secure facility.
Well, hang on a second though.
How died her?
Your image is a little bit shaky and a little bit frozen, but it sounds to me like you're saying that there's somebody that owned the same place that the lady was being kept.
Okay, so the first assisted care facility she stayed at was Stone Valley. When we rescued her, she got brought back to a second one in Reno called Artesian Gardens. Now, the owner of Artesian Gardens told me she was fine there. She was sad and talked about her son,
Mm-hmm.
but she was fine there. And I go, well, then, Dave, how did she die in your facility? She goes, oh, Stewie, she didn't die here. I go, what do you mean? She says, the daughter came in and said the rules were too restrictive here and removed her to a place called the Seasons. And 2 weeks later, she was dead.
The Seasons.
Yes, the third assisted care facility. And of course, to cover up the evidence of drugs involved in Mrs. Hilligus' system, she was immediately cremated. So you can't do a toxicology report.
Mm.
You can't do nothing. And they didn't even tell her own son that she was dead until a week later. Now you tell me what's right about that.
Doesn't sound good.
It's not. None of this is good. Cops lying, covered up by other cops lying. And we're talking local police department, the county police department, the Nevada state police departments, the federal marshal's office, the FBI, all involved in cover up and collusion. I will go on record and I will provide a sworn statement of affidavit of truth to what I know. And tell you, we could talk for 3 hours, Bud, and I still won't give you the whole story about this. I'm trying to give you
there was at one point that she was in the state of California, and this all happened in Nevada that you're talking about her final days.
Her final days happened in Nevada. Roger, her son, took her down to Bellflower, California to visit her only brother who lived in an apartment with the manager of the apartment complex.
Did you say Bellflower?
Bellflower, California. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. It broke up a little bit when you were saying that.
There is a news video on KCAL, CBS affiliate, where they talk to the girlfriend of Mrs. Hilligis's brother, and she says she was fine here, but what happened was they did a silver alert in the state of Nevada that Susan Hilligis was taken by her son, that he's armed and dangerous, has threatened people with guns, has access to guns, all false, that Mrs. Hilligis needed life-saving medication to survive, false. And so the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office deployed the entire tactical operations SWAT team, and they put 2 helicopters in the air, 2 snipers on the roof, shut down Bellflower Avenue, cordoned off a city block, evacuated the apartment building, and green-lighted Roger Hilligis. Do you know what the term green-lighted is, Stephen?
No, I don't. Please explain it.
Green-lighted is if they have a shot, take it.
Oh my goodness. And this is based on false information?
This is based on lies by the Reno Police Department, subjugated by, doubled down by the Washington County District Attorney's Office and the Nevada State Police Organization, or now then the Nevada Highway Patrol. Now it's called the Nevada State Police. Yes, they were going to kill Roger with a headshot had he gone over to the window and even presented a silhouette target. Green lighted or swatted means they come after you to kill you.
Good heavens.
So this is the insanity that has taken place. And people can say what they want about me, but they can't attack my 30 years of being a cop. If I was a bad cop, I never would have made it 30 years. I was a sheriff of the county, tribal chiefs of police, a senior state trooper of the Highway Patrol for 20 years, two deputy sheriffs from Story County Sheriff's Office, and trying to think, adult probation officer with Reno Sparks Indian Colony, 5 years. So I was a probation officer, a deputy sheriff, a tribal chief of police, 1, tribal chief of police, 2, sheriff of the county, senior state trooper, Highway Patrol, 30 years in 6 separate positions. They can't attack that. They try to, but they can't.
This information that you're giving me, has this also been presented in court?
They would not let me present hardly anything in court because they signed the attorney and says you can't talk. I says I'm allowed to talk, and the judge says if you talk, I'll hold you in contempt of court. This is the type of criminal corruption that Barry Lewis Breslow has set forth against both Roger and I. They want to.
So even if you can't talk in court, can it be documented by some sort of court document? Can you have this information presented to a judge?
If you have an attorney that would do his job, absolutely. If they don't do their job, absolutely. 4 attorneys refuse to do their job. That's why the trip today to the Supreme Court was so important and vital, because once I get this court-appointed attorney, Ian Silverberg, the public defender, out of any more handling of my case, then I can argue pro se litigant in front of the Nevada Supreme Court, and I'm not afraid to do so, to get the judge basically in a lot of trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's absolutely, it's unbelievable, Stephen. It's unbelievable the lengths and widths that these corrupt cops, district attorney, and judges have gone to basically destroy our lives. And the only thing they haven't taken from both Roger and myself are our respective lives.
Okay. All
We
right.
both
Well, I'm
lost.
going to present this talk to William so he can include it in his program.
I sincerely appreciate the time and effort. You know, remember, I want to say this, make a statement here. For anybody who has had a loved one, relative, or otherwise being maybe possibly put into assisted care facility, please don't. Do everything you can to keep that loved one where that loved one wants to be. And for anybody who wants to use an attorney for anything of legal parameters, please don't. Because attorneys are just that. They're worthless as tits on the boar hog. And I got to put my phone down right now because I got highway patrol behind me.
All right. Have a good afternoon then. I will cut the conversation off here.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, here we go again. I'm William Wagener for On Second Thought. Hope you're paying attention. The show has a lot of different elements in it. What I really want you to notice was not just that the 216 Republicans voted for the American Voter Eligibility Act, which the Democrats claim is something that's going to disenfranchise voters. Well, it might disenfranchise illegal voters that illegally cross the border and aren't even citizens. It might do that, yes. It might also secure the election, so only people who've lived long enough in their congressional district actually know who their congressman is. You'd be amazed at how many people I have asked, who is your congressman, as they're going in to vote, and they don't know. They just say, oh, I'm going to vote Democrat, or I'm going to vote Republican, but they don't even know who it is. Wow. What kind of representation? Do we really want people like that voting at all? I would like to mention briefly, there's a really bad proposition on the California ballot called Prop 33. You definitely want to vote against the enactment of that law. We do not need, that will cause a housing crisis like we have never even dreamed of, and it's already a housing crisis in California. Thanks to Gavin Newsom's spending time doing the wrong things. I'm William Wagener. I hope you pay attention to these little clips that go by when we insert these little things like Kenyan-born Barack Obama running for the U.S. Senate. But wait a minute, under our Constitution, you must be born in the United States in order to vote and to run for president. But when you're running for president, it's not enough that you be born in the United States. You must be born of 2 U.S. citizens. If one of your parents isn't a U.S. citizen, you don't qualify. And there's a good reason for that. And the reason is, taking my hat off for you that tuned in to watch. The reason is they want your affiliations and to have a concept of what America is about and the American political culture. They want you to be at least a little familiar with the Constitution. But obviously, Vice President, if she was a Vice President, in reality, Kamala Harris, she never read the Constitution. She doesn't understand that her mother, who never became a U.S. citizen, disqualifies her for even being Vice President. She's an illegal Vice President, just like Barack Obama, who was born in Kenya and had this fake Hawaiian birth certificate, probably faked for him by the CIA. Why would the CIA do that? Do they have some agenda that American people haven't been told about? Well, what does the CIA do? You think, oh, the CIA wouldn't do that. They're only protecting us. Really? Well, it seems anybody who's read Nelson's book, Philip F. Nelson's book, LBJ, the mastermind of the JFK assassination, would have a different opinion. There's a lot of facts. I mean, things people forget. Why would during Jack Kennedy's, and I know most of you are too young to remember this, but I remember it. It happened on my 18th birthday, and I never forgot it. Never forgot it. It's the one political thing I've researched for more than 50 years, never stopped seeking to find out. I have an original copy of the Warren Report. It's all BS. Bull cracky. No truth worth reading is in the Warren Report, which is probably why almost nobody reads it. But I read it, because it was the first book to come out that was going to explain everything about how Jack Kennedy got killed on November 22nd, 1963, which, as already said, happened to be my 18th birthday. Those of you that are under 70 years old, this will seem irrelevant to you. But here's the thing. The Secret Service is driving his limo. They take off the bulletproof top. They claim Jack Kennedy didn't want the top on. He wanted to be able to see him better. That's what the CIA Secret Service people said. But after Jack gets killed, that we start to notice that that car had stopped for just an instant where there was a mark on the pavement. I don't want to go into too many details because this is a whole hour, 90-minute discussion. There's a whole bunch of funny things. The doctors who were going to do the autopsy in that county, in Dallas, people from the Secret Service were taking the body. There's a Texas law that says you can't remove a murdered body until the autopsy is complete. He said, we're taking it. And he pointed a gun at the doctor, the guy who's responsible for doing the autopsy. They said, we're taking it. Why would the Secret Service break Texas law? If Jack's already dead, what difference does it make whether the autopsy is done there or in Washington, D.C., or there's no autopsy at all? Why would it matter? Think about this. Then they claim Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy. Then Lee Harvey Oswald gets killed by a guy named Jack Ruby, whose real name was Jack Rubenstein, who had been a congressional aide, not just any congressional, but a senior congressional aide to Richard Milhouse Nixon. Those of us who remember those days, remember he was also called Tricky Dicky. He had all kinds of tricks up his sleeve, not just the Watergate keeper, but a whole lot of things you were never told about. So Jack Rubenstein kills Oswald before he can even have a trial and prove he didn't shoot Kennedy. Who did shoot Kennedy? Well, it turns out the CIA hired some mafioso people, some of them from Europe. And there were two places they were going to kill Jack. If they didn't get him at De La Plaza, there was another location. They were going to kill Jack. And that had to do because he was going to scatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. He said it in the cabinet office. There's a record of him saying it. And that was because of the Bay of Pigs, which Jack meddled in. He should have just let them do their thing. And maybe they wouldn't want him dead. But when he threatened to scatter the CIA into 1,000 little pieces so they would be less powerful, that's when someone in the CIA, I'm not saying who, but someone said, Jack has got to die. And he doesn't want to let our war in Vietnam progress and get bigger, which I think most people also wouldn't have wanted that to happen. So there we are. So now the same Secret Service allowed Donald Trump to get killed. And my theory is Donald Trump was going to unredact everything and expose the CIA for the criminals they are. Because they deal with Sam Giancana, long dead now Sam Giancana, and they deal with these crooks. They use them for hitmen. They work like, they're not trying to put the mafia. You know why they did so well? Because the mafia, once Jack was out, Robert Kennedy, known as Bobby Kennedy, had been the Attorney General under his brothers, the only one Jack trusted. Bobby Kennedy put more criminals, mafia types, organized criminals, in prison than all the DAs before him, Attorney Generals, before him or since him. Huh. How does that happen? Does that mean there's no more mafia? Think about it. And they did kill Robert Kennedy too. And now the Secret Service just can't figure out how the shooter somehow managed to nick Trump in the right ear. The right ear. You know? How? I think God would dodge that bullet just a little bit as he turned his head to get Trump's attention, to tell Trump, listen to God, be nicer to your enemies, stick to policy and not personality. I think God was trying to tell Trump something. But that's just my opinion. I'm William Wagener. I thank you for watching. Watch these little clips with Kenyan-born Obama. This was before Obama became president, before he even became a U.S. Senator. Thanks. Have a good day.
I'm Earl Fankhauser. My good friends Carol and William Wagener have a new book out, The Hardest Year, a love story in letters during the Vietnam War. I recommend it highly. It's available everywhere, online and in stores.